one. Hello and welcome to the FDT-TV podcast. I got it right in. That's a good start. Welcome along to the third instalment of the World Cup episodes. My name is Mike and I am joined by the, I was going to say ever so lovely, but yeah, you're just all right, geezer. Ian, how are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. I'm all right. I'm a bit tired from the amount of football that I'm having to watch, but yeah, it's all good.
Football life is just knackering at the moment. I completely sympathise with you. I've got an extremely busy week coming up. Extremely busy last couple of weeks. We've had problems with the house, but they are finally being sorted. And I can hopefully start to relax and have a bit of a lie-in on Friday, which I'm very much looking forward to, but I doubt it. Right, so obviously we are in the midst of a work. I didn't hear what you said, by the way. You cut out.
I said I'll ring you at 6 a.m.
Oh, please do. I will be hanging. But yeah, no, do it, man. Yes. So obviously we are in the midst of the World Cup at the moment. Obviously you've just mentioned you've been watching a lot of football. How are you finding the World Cup at the moment?
All right. There's been some real boring games of the sense of it seems like no one wants to take a risk and lose. But we have had interesting ties as well. I think today is probably the highest scoring day of the World Cup so far, which is good. Hopefully people start to take a bit more risk and we start to see more competitive and games full of goals rather than low scoring games.
Yeah, I think the thing that's kind of made me or piqued my interest in this is that it seems that anyone can get a result against anyone at the moment. We've seen some of the minnows pulling some shock results out. Obviously, Argentina losing their first game against Saudi Arabia. Germany not doing so great. Obviously, got the vital draw for them at the late back end of last week. England. Yep. In fact, I'll come back on that one in a minute because I think I owe you an apology of something, and I'll explain more in a second. But yeah, so obviously Ghana today winning 3-2. The lowest ranked team within the World Cup at the moment, again pulling out a bit of a shock result. So I think that's why I'm enjoying it at the moment, is because it has thrown up some unexpected results. You look at some of these teams and you think, oh yeah, that's going to be an easy win. And it hasn't come to fruition. Now, just going back to the England game. So my apology is thus. After the first game, I got a little bit excited. I'm not going to lie. I think I said it on the podcast last week that it was very nice to see us playing some attacking football. Now, when we named the podcast last week to "It's Not Coming Home," I've got to be honest, there was a bit in me. I was like, "You pessimistic little bastard." And then after the game against the USA, I've got to say it's proving to be a bit of a bogey fixture for us anyway. But I was like, "Yeah, no, it's definitely not coming home." So my apology is, I didn't actually say this to your face, but I owe you an apology for not trusting you when you're saying it's not coming home. But I tell you what, if we play like that against Wales tomorrow, we are in trouble.
Yeah, I know I said for ages I've been saying we're going out the group stage. It's not an impossibility yet, and Wales have got nothing to play for apart from to embarrass us. So they need a big win.
Yes,
and Southgate's been so.
Yeah, I think with the two central defenders, so John Stones and Harry Maguire. I know Harry Maguire's a player who has come under a lot of scrutiny over the last few weeks. Obviously, coming up to the World Cup, not getting enough game time has been useless for his club. But if I can just say, for me, had a man of the match performance against the USA. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Your face is going to tell me otherwise.
I just there's a lot of people saying this. He did basic things. He put his fridge head on the ball several times. That was he didn't do anything special. He didn't do anything else. If that was a man of the match performance, then bloody hell, we're in trouble.
But I think, do you know why? I think why he stood out is because we weren't getting the basics right. You're right. It was when, upon reflection of what you've just said, getting his big fridge head on it, it was the basics. But I think that's something that he's been lacking in his club football for quite a while now.
I think that cast your mind back to what was it, the Euros and the previous World Cup, where that's what he did really well. He got his head on the ball, and when he got the ball, he passed it out. Simple pass, bang. He got a huge move to Manchester United for it. He was petitioned to be on the £50 note, and he did really well. Since then, he started to do all this fancy stuff and trying to take on players. Just do the simple things well that got you to where you are. That's why you got to where you were. Stop trying to fix about it. If he continues in that vein and gets his head on the ball well and does that simple pass out, he'll probably get back in the Manchester United squad.
Yeah.
But it's whether he can continue to do that or whether he tries, I've got a little bit of confidence now. I'm going to try and take on a man and get done and the ball taken off me. But it's hard match to pick a man in a match, I think, because I think we were the worst team, but I would have given it to Puzic from Chelsea. Could break us down completely, but I think he created the most chances. But yeah.
And if either team was looking like scoring, it was definitely the USA, 100%. It was a shocking display, and I think a smack back to reality for quite a number of people. Obviously, getting on the It's Coming Home train after the first game. And again, I don't want to do Iran a disservice because they're 20th in the world rankings at the moment. They're not a bad team. And like I said, I think they were on a bit of an unbeaten streak before coming into the World Cup. And the fact that we steamrolled them, I think is a fair assessment. It was, I think, why a lot of people were getting a little bit excited about the prospect of it coming home. And I think we've just got to get... Do you know what it was? From watching that game, there were no options. No options whatsoever. There were times I see Harry Kane right at the back in defence, playing in the midfield. I know he hasn't got the pace of what he once had. Obviously, he's getting a little bit older now. I know he's still only 29, but he's definitely lost the pace he's had. Still got a fantastic footballing brain, but we ain't going to score goals with him mopping up at the back. We're not going to score goals with him mopping in defence. I think Saka was marked out of the game completely. The same with Sterling. But some of the substitutions that were made as well, that game was crying out for Callum Wilson, I think, personally, because he's a player who's not afraid to run at their defence. I don't understand. I'm not sure if it was something a little bit more political. It's like, don't beat us, we won't beat you. Everyone comes away happy. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't embarrass us or whatever. And everything will be a little bit sweet and that's exactly what I said to Emma after the game finished. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some politics behind that result, but it was just abysmal.
Do you know what? Looking at the two games we've played so far, I think Iran got their tactics slightly wrong. When you look at the US, they marked Saka, they marked Sterling, and they didn't mark Harry Kane. They let him go deep and didn't track players with him. Where Iran were so concerned that if he gets the ball, he might score. They man marked, which left the holes for the other players to run into. And even then, they still scored two. It wasn't like it was a clean run. Just a case of they had a big hole in the back.
Yeah.
And
not forgetting their injury to their keeper as well.
Yeah, and so the Americans were a bit more astute. They do have a little bit more about them. I know they're not a footballing country and they call it soccer, but when you look at some of the talent they do have, most of their team, the minimum they're playing in is the Championship, which is not a bad league, but their big players are playing for Juventus and Chelsea, and there's a few players within that Borussia Dortmund, few players within that team who are superstars, and they're still only young. And I think, if I'm honest with you, we were lucky to come away with that with a point.
Yeah,
I really do think that.
I do.
But
completely agree.
I'd say it will be on Wales to knock us out.
Yes, yeah, and I think again after that performance, looking at how negative we were, it wouldn't surprise me if because we know we can't not so much that we can't lose this game, because as you said, if it's like a 1 or 2-0 and we lose the game, it's not the end of the world. But you just don't want to be in that position where you set yourself up so defensively. You've got your defensive mindset in and don't make any chances, because that's at the point that you're going to get caught out. Moving on to another team which I think has surprised quite a few for me is Germany. Absolutely abysmal first game. Granted, we did see them battling back against Spain at the weekend, but still a team historically have been absolutely fantastic in the World Cup. Granted, not so much in the last few years, but for me, just it seemed to be a shadow of the former self. Now, looking at some of the names within that team, I'm not sure if it's kind of like an ego trip, kind of like a golden generations for England, but in the Germany where there's no cohesion or there's too much expected of them, that they feel pressured into playing the way that they do. They did battle very hard right until the end against Spain, and again, it was a game where if Spain won that one, Germany would have been eliminated after that particular fixture. But obviously, they got a point against them and kept their World Cup dreams alive. From what you've seen, I mean, what do you think Germany's chances are of qualifying?
I think they will beat Costa Rica, and I think. Well, here's the thing: it all depends on the Spain-Japan. Because if that's a draw, it doesn't necessarily matter. I don't think. It just goes in goal difference. But I don't think Spain will be, because as I say, Spain will be going through regardless. Unless they lose to Japan and Costa Rica beat Germany. So, I think Spain will be playing for the draw. I don't think they'll necessarily be expansive and trying to score loads. But with Germany, it's one of those that when you look at the team that they've got, they don't have they've got one striker, possibly you could say two. One's 17 years old. Mikoko, I don't know how you pronounce his name, plays for Dortmund. And the other is Kadeem Adeyemi, who is sort of a right winger and striker. But they're not, on paper, they're a good squad. But then, as you said, they look more individual than they do team. And the World Cup is a team game. If whoever the best team is wins. You might have, as we've seen with Argentina, one of the best players in the world. He can't pull them to the final every year. I just feel like, because they haven't got Joachim Low anymore, have they? They've got some other geezer who's the manager, and I just feel like they've lost their spark a little bit. Does that make sense? I mean, Spain, Germany, 5 years ago, 6 years ago? Well, I don't know, World Cups before, but you know what I mean? That was a final. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't a group stage game. But I feel like, as always, they will grow into a tournament. They've got the players there to win it. I would say they've got a hell of a lot of experience within that team as well. It's whether they can turn it on, because they don't have an out and out striker. They've got Thomas Muller, who's playing, who is phenomenal, and I like him, and he's the sort of geezer I'd like to go for a pint with. But it doesn't instill me with, oh yeah, that's your the man you want up front to win your World Cup. But yeah, so I think they will grow into the tournament. I do think they will qualify, having beaten Germany, and I think Spain will beat Japan, because Japan need to win to guarantee qualification.
Yep.
So they're going to go for it and then get caught on a counter or something. But I do think Germany will go through and they will slowly grow into the tournament.
Okay.
Right.
Just
I do have another.
Sorry, go on.
Well, that I was going to say another thing I'd like to mention that sort of imploded are Belgium.
Mm.
And Kevin De Bruyne is sort of blaming the fact that they've got Vertonghen and Alderweireld at the back, who are both well past it, and they were well past it at the last World Cup. And he said, "Well, we're too old to win. What do you expect? Like, we haven't got the players to compete." Again, on paper, phenomenal squad, but all very old now. Kevin De Bruyne is 31, and you go, well, it's not old for a footballer, but it's definitely past their best.
Yeah.
It's not 5 years, is it?
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, I think it was a 2-0 loss yesterday against Morocco, wasn't it? Yeah. When sorry, go on.
Morocco have surprised me. When you go, oh, Morocco, you go, well, all right, yeah, what's the big fuss? But when you look at the players that play for Morocco, that I didn't realise, they've got a phenomenal team. Maybe not in terms of depth, but certainly that first team, the series, Ziyech, I mean, now for Gerd plays for West Ham, Hakimi, they've got some real sort of well-known, world class players in their squad.
Mm-hmm.
But they're playing as a team. They want to win as a unit, don't they?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see, because I think another team which is playing like a team is Brazil. I know they're only just about won today, but they could have scored more, scored some absolute belters in the first game. And a lot of people are tipping Brazil to lift the World Cup again this year. But again, from some of the results that we've seen, it does strike me that this could be anybody's tournament. If you have, as you say, the cohesion and the willingness to play as a team,
mm-hmm.
you could or you will go far in this tournament, which is
yes.
It seems like such an obvious thing to say, but again, I think we've seen it from a first-hand perspective. Obviously, with our own national team, you could have the best players with it. What I'm trying to say is, you could go out and say, "I'm going to pick this person, this person, this person, this person." It's all very well and good that statistically they may be the best players in those positions. However, if you've got the egos and stuff that can clash, and I think that's one thing that Gareth Southgate can kind of be commended for, is instilling that kind of team philosophy. So you put the England shirt on, and you are England. There's not, I play for Spurs, I play for Arsenal, I play for Man United, because I think this is one of the things that's come out certainly over the last 2 tournaments, I think, and it's been spoke about more from an England perspective, is that you go back to the golden generation, you would have your little cliques within the squads, and then you'd have some people casted outside, sitting on their own, eating dinner or whatever. And I think it's such a shame, because I think from one aspect, I think if Gareth Southgate was or did have the reins of an earlier generation, I know he was kind of still fairly young at that particular time, was either playing and or at the very start of his managerial career, but that philosophy, I think, could have done well in earlier England squads. And I think we've definitely got the talent within the England squad to go deep in the competition. Obviously, we got to semi-finals in the Euros. Semi-finals in the last World Cup in Russia, and then we got to the final of the Euros. So we've definitely got the squad to do it. It's just we need to get out of this negative football that we see creeping back into the game. Nations League football, I think, is the best way to put it.
I think he is too stubborn. And I think he would be a fantastic assistant manager, bringing that sort of squad together and getting that sort of, as you said, that cohesion within the squad. But I think tactically, I think he's inept. I mean, cast your mind, mate. I don't want to rag on him too much, but this is the man that put Harry Kane on corners. Do you know what I mean? The game against USA, he brought Grealish on, he brought Rashford on, and Grealish ran at the US, and that was our most creative. You've got Foden, who can do the same thing. Haven't seen him yet. I mean, we've got a number of Maddison. I know was injured out or out with a knock, but just as you said, Callum Wilson. Why didn't he come on for Harry Kane? Do you know what I mean? There's someone to run behind the lines, try and spread it a little bit, give your midfielders a little bit more room to work. But he's come out with a thing today because there's been lots of calls for Foden to start and maybe a bit of squad rotation. And he said, "Well, this is a World Cup. We don't just rotate. We don't give out England caps for the sake of it." Yeah, you're like, well, what does that say to the players who haven't played? There's 15 players who haven't touched the pitch yet. And if I was one of them and he went, "Oh, I want you to come on," I'll be like, "Nah, do you know what? Fuck you." Because I'm not having a charity appearance. Do you know what I mean? Why did he bring on Jordan Henderson?
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Go out and attack the game.
I think that was the substitution that surprised me the most. Because again, I know obviously after the first game, Jude Bellingham everyone was obviously singing his praises as to how well he played. But again, he was another one of these players that was kind of marked out of the game, like 2-3 men on him at all times. The same as Saka. Harry Kane couldn't string two passes together, and if he did, was playing, I suppose, suicidal passes into the likes of Saka when he's already got people right up his arse, can't do anything with it, and then getting the arseache with him when he's not getting the ball back or whatever. That was one of the things that frustrated me from that. But it's definitely going to be an interesting game tomorrow. I wouldn't necessarily say I was looking forward to it, but it would be nice to get back to winning ways.
When you look at when you look at the Wales squad, we should walk tomorrow's game. They are mediocre at best. Their best players are past it, and their squad players, as you'd call them, are not of the quality that you would expect. So I don't think they've done badly by getting to a World Cup, if I'm totally honest. I think that's the achievement for them, actually qualifying for the World Cup. But that said, given the opportunity, as within every sport, if they beat us 4-0 and put us out, doesn't matter what happens after that. Do you know what I mean? That's the motivation, is just to get one over on us.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if they get knocked out 15-0 in the next round. If they could do that for us for the next 100 years, it's, yeah, but we beat you 4-0 at a World Cup.
Yeah.
Knocked you out. And that's the dangerous thing. That's the minimum. They're going to just come out and attack us. And I think with some of the speed that they do have, with the likes of Daniel James in their squad, that's what they're going to do. Go and make it a foot race. Put things over the top and just let it go. Because once you... Harry Maguire, I'm going to go back to him, isn't the quickest.
No.
So I wouldn't play him in this game. Because if I'm the Wales manager, I say, put the ball over the top, Daniel James, run past him. Let him have his arms all over you and go down every time. Because eventually he will get sent off.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, there's a lot more space on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the tactic they'll employ. Just make everything a foot race. We're quicker than England. We're not better on the ball, but we are quicker. And that's how you have to play it. And I think the fact that they will be up for it, because if they do beat us 4-0, then they're through. Again, it's unlikely, but I think they will get a couple of goals. I really do. And I think we may lose this game. But...
Okay. So on that basis then, I'm going to kind of throw you on the spot a little bit. It talks about potential squad rotation there, and who would you have as your starting lineup within this particular game?
I would stick with Trippier on the right because I think he's been really good. I would have Stones in there still, but I would put Ben White with him. A little bit more pacey about him. On the left, who else have we got that plays left back? I would probably put, and this might sound strange, and I said it in the middle of the USA game, to compete with the pace, I would have put Saka at left back. Because he can still get forward from that position. We've seen him be phenomenal with it. But actually, in terms of pace, he's not going to be beaten. So I'd put him at left back. I'd keep Declan Rice in that holding midfield role. And what I did think from watching him in the USA game and the Iran game, his job has been to shepherd Harry Maguire with John Stones. And there is protection. And it's worked really well. I would keep him there. Bellingham, I would say, yes, he's done well. Mason Mount, for me, hasn't done enough. In the Iran game, he was drawing players to him. But in the USA game, he didn't. He's not been clinical enough. I think that's partly due to the fact of the contract negotiations that seem to be ongoing within the World Cup between him and Chelsea. So I'd take him out and put Foden in that role.
Yep.
Creative sort of midfielder. And the reason I'd put him over Maddison is if Maddison's picked up an injury while he's out there, I don't want to be getting 10 minutes into a game and having to change it. I'd rather go, right, come on for 15, 20 minutes at the end and see what you can do. I'd put Rashford at... what would I? I would put Grealish out on the left. Just to say, again, from watching the two Wales games, defensively, they've been pulling people down. They've been clattering into people. Go and draw the foul. So I'd put him on the left. I put Callum Wilson up top for that again. Catch him on the counter, the quick in behind, and I would put Rashford out on the right. And I know that's not Rashford's preferred position, but for the same reason, catch him on the counter, get up that line quick.
So
that's and I would take Jordan Pickford out a goal and probably go for Nick Pope just for the shot stopping because that's what it's going to be. I think they're going to be pot shots from all over, and all right, his distribution isn't as good as Ramsdale, or maybe his ability to catch the ball and keep it isn't as good. But where you're getting blasted shots from 30 yards out and chipped in, I think as a shot stopper, he's our best shot stopper. So I'd put him in goal.
Okay. It's not too dissimilar to what I would go for. But for me, I think the only two changes I would make would be Rashford out on the left, Saka still out on the right, and keep Luke Shaw in, because I think he's done all right.
He's done terribly. I couldn't think who else we had to replace him. All I'm thinking of is squad rotation really for the fact of here's the thing, Sky Sports is really up to date, isn't it? Because apparently Danny Rose is still in the squad according to I'm trying to look up who's in the fucking England thing. But yeah, so I do concur with you. He hasn't put a foot wrong, but just for the fact of if we do want to go deep into this, does he need a break? Because we haven't really got anyone else to go on the left.
No,
we haven't got anybody. You could put Cody out there, but I wouldn't recommend that. Eric Dyer, no. Cole Walker, but no, it's wrong-footed. Trent, no. Ben White probably would be our best bet to go left back, but yeah, no, I think keep Shaw. He's gonna have to go Lyle.
Yes, yeah. Right, so moving swiftly on, just touch quickly on Argentina. Obviously, after the first game, again another team that were favourites to win the tournament before the start of the tournament, and there was some statistic or something that come out that if Messi reached the final, it would be his 1000th game or something. That's obviously if they made the final. However, They lost the first game, and they won their second game yesterday, 2-0, I think it was. Now, obviously, we touched on Germany very briefly. What do you think Argentina's chances are of going, A, qualifying, and B, getting through to the latter stages of the group? Sorry, of the tournament.
I think they're going out. I do think they're going out. They've got to play Poland next, have they not?
Yes.
Which I don't think they will win. I will admit. I like some of the players who play for Argentina, but I don't think they will win. I really don't. I think that the reliance on Messi is unbelievable, and I think they're one of those teams. If they took him out the squad and said, right, let's play a team that needs to win, they would probably do better. But it's that one man band thing. I think you have to look at the Saudi result, and there's two things I want to or three things I want to mention about it. One, complete team performance by Saudi Arabia. That's why they won that game, plain and simple. Two, one of the princes from Saudi Arabia bought everyone on the team a Rolls-Royce Phantom for winning, which, fair enough. And three, I've been banging on about you have to clear out your man every time as a goalkeeper. And yes, he did, with his knee. Took out his man. All right, it was his own man. Sometimes you're going to have to do that. The bloke, I've seen his scan. He broke his eye socket, his jaw, his nose, everything. Just smashed his fucking face in. And you're like, but then he got up and went, I've still got the ball. I don't want to say like that is goalkeeping 101. He probably feels really bad for smashing his mate's face in, but they won the game, didn't they?
Yep.
Is that not what it's all about?
Yep.
Yeah, no, I think back to the question you asked. I think Argentina will go out.
Yeah, to be honest, it's going to be a very tricky game. Obviously, we see Lewandowski get his first World Cup goal at the weekend, and you could see the joy on his face. Obviously, once he eventually scored, it was a bit of a gimme. Suicidal back pass from one of the defenders. He's kind of latched onto it and one-on-one with the keeper and slotted it away. Did Lewandowski things. Again, I think it's going to be a tough game for Argentina. I really, really do. And the other game in that group is Saudi Arabia versus Mexico. Now,
yeah, and if there's a winner in that, and Argentina don't beat Poland, they're out. So they have, if they get a draw, they could still. No, they wouldn't. If they have a draw and Saudi Arabia win, they'd be out. If Mexico would have to win by, I think 3-0 if it's a draw. 3-0, and they would probably go through. So it's one of those they've got to win, which then creates the pressure of throwing players forward, leaving spaces at the back, and if because you mentioned the man Lewandowski plays differently for Poland than he does for his clubs because he's not got that creative freedom passing in balls all the time. But if there's a man who gets one chance from inside the box, you don't want it to be him. Do you?
No.
Do you know what I mean? One ball over, that's on the end of. He's putting it in the net. I know he missed a penalty, but that's like. That was unheard of. Like no one had money on him to miss that penalty.
No.
So for that reason, that's why I think it will be one ball over the top, just fall to him, bosh, and it's said and done.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. As I said, I do worry for them, and obviously this is going to be Messi's last World Cup. And I wanted to ask your question or your opinion on something very quickly. About this, because I know a lot of people, they've talked about Ronaldo versus Messi. It's the ongoing debate, who's the better player. Now, Messi has come under a lot of criticism for in terms of his international career for not winning a significant trophy. Now, we know the Copa America is a massive tournament, but would you say that holds the same level of prestigiousness as something like a World Cup or a Euros? And now, let me just clarify that further. Obviously, we watch Europa League, Champions League, all that sort of stuff, and we see the best teams in Europe compete. I would be interested to see at a club level. I know we get like the Club World Cup or whatever, but I would love to see a tournament where you get the best clubs in Europe versus the best clubs in South America. And no, sorry, I'm getting my wires crossed here because the Copa America is the international. It's basically the Euros, isn't it? So again, I was just about to say, all right, well, just put it like the South American teams versus the European teams, and I was like, well, that's the World Cup.
Oh, you mean the World Cup?
I've just completely fallen on my arse there. Yeah, I would like to see that, just a tournament between those two nations or those two continents, because I personally don't think that the Copa America would be as prestigious as the Euros, if that makes sense. That sounds really detrimental, really derogatory. Sorry, and I don't mean that to sound like that, because obviously South America got some fantastic teams, but I just think the European teams are better than the South American teams, in my personal opinion.
I think South America is a bit like the Spanish league, in the fact Brazil is Barcelona, Argentina are Real Madrid, or vice versa, and Atletico Madrid are Uruguay. And occasionally Uruguay win something. Other than that, it's Argentina, but most of the time it's Brazil that win. I mean, there's only ever been 8 teams that have won the World Cup. 5 of them were European, 3 of them were South American, and in that order, Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay. It's for a nation the size of Argentina compared to Portugal. I think that they haven't performed as they should have done. And what I mean by that is they cheated their way to one of the World Cups, didn't they? The old hand of God. But in terms of Ronaldo, Messi on an international level, I think Ronaldo's done more for Portugal than Messi has done for Argentina. Especially when you look at the players that they've had around them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you look at Portugal's squad going back, like who are the big names that they've had? They've had Ronaldo. All right, they had Pepe for a while at the back, and Carvalho was probably the other big name that they had a while ago. But when you look at Argentina and you go, oh, actually, they had Mascherano, they had Messi, they had
Tevez,
Zavala, Tevez, like the quality of players that they've produced. I just feel like they should have done better. Aguero, do you know what I mean? Who was the other geezer? He used to play for Manchester United at one point. The striker. What's his name? It's gonna wind me up. It will come to me at some point. It will come to me. But yeah, I think he is by hook or by crook pulled Portugal through more games than Messi has. And I think the quality of the squad have got Argentina more wins than maybe Portugal. But I think in terms of overall impact, I think Messi is Messi, fucking hell, Ronaldo is the better player.
Okay. Right. moving on. This is literally going to be a very quick touch upon because we had a bit of a discussion last week in terms of Rangers had sacked Giovanni Van Bronckhorst as manager of Rangers, and there was a discussion about Gerrard obviously being available and throwing his hat into the mix, whether he would be a good appointment or not. And we have received confirmation that Mick Beale has been appointed the manager of Rangers. Just to quickly touch on that, I think just to sum up what we said last week is that my personal opinion would have been a suicide for Gerrard to go back, because we see how quickly he moved on. Obviously, given the opportunity of a Premiership club, didn't quite work out with Aston Villa, and I think if an opportunity come up again, or if he got back to winning ways with Rangers, it would be an easy decision for him to make to go to another Premiership club. So. Yeah, that was just to update people who were interested. Next, going on to the FA Cup draw. So the FA Cup the FA Cup ties, the third round has been drawn this evening. Just some, obviously, for our perspectives. Arsenal are playing away to Oxford. West Ham are at home to Brentford. And one of the bigger ties from that particular draw was Man City versus Chelsea. I asked you very quickly before we come on to record this, playing away to Brentford. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not confident in it. We played Brentford, I think, just after you, when we returned from the World Cup. And I think in terms of confidence at the minute, I'm not confident we'll beat them. It's one of those things, never say never, and you'd hope to think we hit some sort of form soon. But yeah, on where we left off, the feeling is low in the West Ham camp. I think we're not massive at the minute, and we're needing some we're needing some good performances and some confidence. And I think if we can beat you and we beat Brentford after that, then that confidence may start flowing, and very quickly, because I think the game's not long after we go back. I think at that point we will then possibly beat them, but on current form, I can't see it.
See, I'm a little bit sceptical about the game against Oxford, because obviously we saw a heavily rotated side against Brighton. Obviously, see us getting knocked out of the League Cup in the very early stages, and I do fear that. Sorry, I thought you were telling me to stop.
I'm just trying to focus me.
Yeah, obviously, with I think we'll take a very similar approach, playing a much rotated squad for that particular fixture. You'd like to think with a team in the divisions below us, it should be an easy fixture, but obviously we're going to be playing away. They're going to be up for it, and with obviously the position we're in the league at the moment, I think it's going to be key to rest our best or our first 11, and might see us go out of that.
Here's a question for you: would you quite happily lose that game if it meant you winning the Premier League?
100%.
Would you throw away any sort of like FA Cup run just for that?
If it meant, if I knew it was going to lead to us winning the league, yeah, I'd happily. I'd throw in the under-21s into the tournament. Do you know what I mean? But we have seen some players obviously out with injuries at the moment, but could be back by the time the World Cup finishes. We did see the return of Mohamed El Neni back into the mix just before the break as well. So I know we are going to have some players back, and to be honest, it might not be a bad thing, because I think it's just after Christmas. Just after the start of the new year that the FA Cup games are. So, and obviously with 10 players, I think you said the start of the World Cup campaign that we have out on international duty, it may not be a bad thing to play those that team to ensure that we've got the best squad available for the Premier League. So, yes, in answer to your question, I would 100% sacrifice it. But unfortunately, with the way the league is, you just don't know if it's worth sacrificing that tournament to give us a fighting chance to win the league. So yeah. And another one I think is quite a big fixture is Man United versus Everton, again from that draw.
And the other one, City Chelsea, is also quite a potentially a big draw.
Yes. So yeah, that's the roundup. Obviously, please leave it in the comments what you think is going to happen in the FA Cup. Let us know your predictions for those particular games if you want to. Where do you think, if you're an Arsenal fan, what do you think is going to happen? West Ham fan, City or Chelsea fan? Give us a comment. Let us know what you think. And speaking of predictions, we are going to just follow on to that. So we have been doing some predictions at the start of the World Cup. We've been doing it through the league as well. You can see over Ian's left shoulder, I believe, the coveted FIFA Day trophy predictions trophy. Ian is currently in the current holder of the trophy after an abysmal season that I had last year. And I'm fighting for it. I'm definitely fighting for it to come back into this house. So obviously we'll touch very quickly on the predictions from last week. We had predictions for England versus USA. You had the USA down to win 3-2. I had 2-0 to England. It was a 0-0 draw, so no points for either of us. So the standings are as they are for the time being. Ian, you're currently on 27 points and I am on 29. We are going to mix things up a bit this week. Obviously, there's a big group that we've already discussed already in the World Cup. But we'll come on to it first. The most important game, Wales versus England. Ian, do you want to give us your thoughts on this game?
I'm going for a Wales win. Now, I for the reasons I said earlier in the podcast, I did say earlier I put a little cheeky 50p bet on Wales winning 4-0, which returns 250 quid. So hopefully that's the result. I don't think it will be. I'm going to go for a 2-1 to Wales.
Okay. I'm going to go slightly different on this. Obviously, you mentioned it, I think, at length in our breakdown of the last game. So I do think Wales are going to have a point to prove and want to have some bragging rights for this. But I think it's going to be a bit of a stalemate game again. I think neither team is going to want to lose or not going to get humiliated. So,
yeah,
I think if we see the same team start, I think 1-1. If we see if we see a more rotated team, i.e., the team that myself and yourself mentioned, I think that would go on to a win. However, obviously based on your comments, what you mentioned about Gareth Southgate saying, I think I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw on that one. All right. Leading on, a game we've already just spoken about, Poland versus Argentina. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to go 1-0 Poland.
Okay.
11 goal. I think that's going to be a low scorer.
I do agree. I think Poland are going to win. I'm going to go slightly different. I'm going to go for 3-2 to Poland on that one. Again, Argentina definitely need to come out all guns blazing on this one, but I think by doing that they're going to leave themselves open. Lewandowski is now got his World Cup account up and running. I think he's going to want to get some more goals. So barring or failing any injuries, I think Poland are going to win this one again because it's going to be a bit of a bragging right for them to send Argentina out. So yeah, I'll go for 3-2 to Poland. And another a couple of big games in this particular group. So we've got Spain versus Japan, Germany versus Costa Rica. We'll start off with Spain versus Japan. I'll go first on this one. So Spain, obviously, very, very comfortable win in the first game. And obviously we see Japan beat Germany in the first game. Spain are, I think, pretty much done. I know in fact, this is one of those groups where I think where everyone can finish on 4 points. But I am going to go for I'm going to go Spain 3-1 on this one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Japan impressed me against Germany. They got some attacking intent around them, although they're a commentator's nightmare with the amount of Kims in their team. I think the back five are all named Kim, so that's always interesting. But I am gonna go for I'm gonna go 1-1 on that game.
Okay. And that leaves us finally on Germany versus Costa Rica. Germany need to win this one. Yep. Without a shadow of a doubt. Based on your theory, I think with them growing into... I'm going to go down this route. Of them growing into the tournament, again, I think they've got a point to prove with a loss on their first game and a draw on their second game. I am going to go for 2-1 to Germany in that one.
Fair enough. I'm going to go another big scoreline here. I think Germany, this will be the game where they show up. I'm going to go 4-0 to Germany.
Yeah. Okay. So we go. They are our predictions for this the third round of the World Cup. Obviously, Wales versus England. Just to recap, you've gone for 2-1. I've gone for 1-1. Poland, Argentina, you've gone 1-0. I've gone for 3-2. Spain versus Japan, you've gone 1-1. I've gone 3-1. And Germany versus Costa Rica, you've gone 4-0. I've gone for 2-1. Again, let us know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Be interested to see what you guys think. And I think that is it from me. Ian, have you got anything else you want to mention?
No, not yet. Okay. Not till Ronaldo signs a ridiculous deal with some club in Saudi Arabia.
He's going to come to us, mate. He's going to sign on a free, donate his wages to the Arsenal Foundation, and we're going to win.
I will say the one thing I've read is allegedly he's been offered £1.2 million a week to sign for a club in Saudi Arabia until he's 41, which is like another 4 years.
Jesus. That's disgusting.
Sickening. And there will be zero tax on that.
Yeah. Just a very quick World Cup update. Portugal are currently beating Uruguay in the Group H stage. Bruno Fernandes with the goal, so they're currently up. And by the looks of it, really dominating that game as well. But yes, if you have made it this far into the video, thank you very much for sticking with us. As I said on numerous occasions, leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. And if you have enjoyed it, please hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps us out. And we will catch you on the next video.
Yes, we'll see you soon.
Thanks very much.